First, to understand the tension and national attention the Evergreen State College has received, one must first understand the root and historical understanding of the foundation of Evergreen. In 1964, the Council of Presidents created the Temporary Advisory Council on Public Higher Education. At the earliest possible time, a new college should be authorized, to be located at the suburban site of Thurston County within a radius of approximately 10 miles from Olympia. The following legislation established the first public four-year college in Washington state in the 20th century, located on a site of at least 600 acres, making this college the largest campus in the state. The core themes of this new college were to be as follows: create an integrated, interdisciplinary approach to teaching and student learning, provide opportunities for individuals to become engaged in community, foster a responsibility of environmental stewardship and social justice, institutionalize and formulate diversity and equity. Governor Dan Evans, along with state legislature, wanted more than just another four-year college and urged the trustees to unshackle their educational thinking from traditional patterns. At this college, faculty would go beyond awarding letter grades. They would instead provide meaningful and constructive feedback through narrative evaluations. At this college, students would experience the depth and rigor of a liberal arts education through an intentional, coordinated studies approach. This college, a courageous experiment at inception, would become the Evergreen State College. Such approach liberated faculty from specialized and narrowed teaching styles, which resulted in a great level of autonomy for faculty. Essentially, faculty can express and voice their respective professional and academic opinion in most settings. At Evergreen, you'll be encouraged to voice your opinion. Your background, ethnicity, social class, and preferred lifestyle will add to the multicultural perspectives here. You will find that attention to diversity in the broadest sense runs throughout the curriculum. This is the spirit and vigor that has led to the formation of the culture of social justice and procreation to many student organizations, clubs, nonprofits, and actions towards addressing inequality, injustice, bigotry, and racism. Many Evergreen students have participated in actions against forces of globalization, occupation, and destruction of indigenous lands. The most noted of Evergreen protesters is Rachel Corrie. In 2003, she was defending the home of a Palestinian family in Rafah against Israeli construction bulldozers. They did not stop for a protest, and she was subsequently killed. Following that tragedy, her parents created the Rachel Corrie Foundation, and ever since, the Evergreen State College has become a hub for local and international political justice and action. Some of these demonstrations and rallies have created a counterculture toward police due to the differences in ideology and activism, which at times can be convoluted through anarchist actions that counter the message of the student organizers. To complicate this understanding further, some of the lines blur between students, anarchists, people of color activism, and white students' reactionism. However, these intersections do not always clash or cause uprisings like the one documented on
Valentine's Day 2008, the Evergreen State College chapter of Hip Hop Congress, with the support of over 40 student and community organizations, put on the most successful student-organized hip-hop event in the history of student activities at the school. Student organizers worked hard to ensure the highest possible level of community collaboration and campus preparedness, according to the policies, procedures, and training provided and outlined by student activities at Evergreen State College. The concert had just ended, and hundreds of people pouring out of Evergreen's REC were met with a front row view of blue uniforms throwing blows with their fists and batons and spraying pepper spray at what appeared to be peaceful groups of protesters.
People are pepper spraying the peaceful people.
I was just feeling queasy.
I'll be honest with you, somebody sprayed one of our officers.
Despite the overwhelming evidence on film that OPD had a decisive role in escalating the situation to a violent confrontation that night, there are striking inconsistencies between eyewitness accounts of the event and accounts being offered by police agencies. What has been consistent and widely acknowledged to everyone we spoke to, students, police services, and administration at Evergreen, is the pre-existing and unresolved tensions between the Olympia Police Department and the Evergreen community. Of the 61 people arrested in the militarization resistance at the Port of Olympia, November 2007, over a quarter of those were Evergreen students, and many more repeated experiencing excessive force and brutality from the city's police department during that time. It is within these circumstances and this historical context that the uprising after the Valentine's Day concert took place, and it would be a shame to allow the turn of events that Friday morning to overshadow the ultimate success, positivity, power, and promise this show presented for the Evergreen community. We offer the results of our inquiry not only as community media producers and advocates of hip-hop culture, but also as supporters of the movement towards universal restorative justice and proactive restitution.
The idea for the first day of absence came from a play of the same name in 1970 by African-American playwright Douglas Turner Ward. The play is a social commentary on race relations in the U.S. and satirizes the South's refusal to see African Americans as equal members of the community. In the play, a town wakes up to find all of its African American citizens have disappeared, leaving those to reflect on the meaning of their community without these essential members. Beginning in the 1970s, faculty member Dr. Maxine Mims approached Administrator Stone Thomas about creating a day of work surrounding grassroots collective action away from campus. Day of Absence grew to become an opportunity for all students, faculty, and staff at Evergreen to explore and celebrate the richness of our diversity by facilitating conversations about issues of difference. In 1992, Day of Presence was added in order to reunite the college community to exchange learned lessons from workshops, materials, and other learning opportunities and share it with the campus as a whole. Each year, the Day of Absence and Day of Presence Planning Committee develop a new program of events and workshops to address current issues surrounding race at Evergreen and beyond. This committee is open to the entire campus, and anyone who is interested is invited to participate. It is my personal opinion, upon researching and reading the original emails by Brett Weinstein and being a student member of the Equity and Inclusion Council, that he did not support our work with the Strategic Action Plan for Changing the Culture and Hiring Process at Evergreen. However, those actions do not qualify him as a racist, but rather an apathetic isolationist that does not support students, faculty, and staff of color with his silence. Brett was not involved and did not attempt to include himself in the planning committee for Day of Absence and Day of Presence. The organizers of the meeting in the Multicultural Office invited him on many occasions, but he chose to exclude himself. And instead, he did the opposite and placed himself at the center of the protest and co-opted a victimization role that was unfounded. The actions of the students were not justified in their aberrant intensity either, yet they had many reasons to be upset from a historical lack of support. Through the May 21, 2015 shooting of Andre Thompson and Bryson Chaplin by the police officer Ryan Donald and their unjust conviction of assault, to the illegal entrapment of immigrant workers in a detention center located in Tacoma, to the election of a presidential candidate that ran racially charged and discriminatory platform, to the campus police detainment and harassment of 2 black students who protested said president, and the cyclical appearance of neo-Nazi and white supremacists in Olympia, Evergreen students have had many valid reasons and responses to these attacks on personal liberty. Although the clips that have circulated the internet and circumvented the students' original message, a clear and intentional list of demands was generated to address the actions. By our education, this is a historical attempt at creating change that is not just unique to Evergreen, and these underlying sequence of actions have historically occurred not only in America, but in nations across the world. In other words, many of the political movements toward democracy that we have witnessed and documented in the last 50 years toward equitable representation have been created by student organizers. People watching this documentary would promote a disservice to themselves, their sons and daughters at Evergreen, to assume that these demonstrations were not thoughtful or valid in their undertaking. Brave, emboldened, and hazardous to Evergreen students, these actions have gained the attention, negotiation, and priority of the administration at Evergreen to create sustainable and appropriate action.
I'm really glad you're here. Students have asked me to prepare a written statement in response to the demands and requests they have made about the concerns for the college. And so I will read a document that has been the subject of much work over the last 48 hours that represents the efforts of many to respond to those demands. So if I might, let me do that and take some time for questions afterwards. So let me begin by saying my name is George Bridges. I'm the 6th president of Evergreen State College. I use he, him pronouns. I begin our time together today by acknowledging the indigenous people of the Medicine Creek Treaty, whose land was stolen and on which the college now stands. I would like to acknowledge the Squaxin people, who are the traditional custodians of this land, and pay respect to elders past and present of the Squaxin Nation. I extend that respect to other Native people who are present. In response to the Native Student Alliance requests, I commit in the future to opening every Evergreen event with this acknowledgement.
It happened on Valentine's Day. I sometimes like to call it the Saint Valentine's Day Uprising. So, you know, I just want to say to that community who we've been linked with in a really strong way since that happened, I really appreciate you guys. And you know, your courage and your strength as students in that time has made an effect on the terrain in Washington State, Oregon, and the Northwest, and has contributed to my experience in a fantastic way. It's been 10 years, but what I want to say is that the resistance hasn't gone down any. We just left the Northwest area, Bellingham, Seattle, Spokane, and the rest. And I got to say that the fervor, the revolutionary fervor, and what made the resistance so high then at Evergreen State is still evident there now. You know, I just want to say that, and respect to Evergreen and the Uprising, and let's commemorate it with more organization, commemorate it with being stronger and faster, smarter, being better organized, better, healthier, and continue to do what you're doing. You know what I mean? Evergreen forever.